Hello, Braden Kelly of Blogging Innovation here with Rohit Talwar of CEO of Fast Future Research. Rohit's here today in Bellevue. Rohit, what brings you to Bellevue today?
Well, I've been invited by the Chamber of Commerce to give the keynote speech for their annual dinner tomorrow night to about 500 leaders from medium to large enterprises to talk to them about the changes happening in the world over the next 5 to 10 years and the implications for how you use innovation to help you survive and thrive in what I believe is going to be an extremely turbulent era.
So, speaking of the era coming, what are some of the key challenges that you see people facing going forward?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One is we know that in the developed world, the growth has been very difficult to achieve in the last 2 years, and there's an expectation there could be more downturns. And people are reluctant to spend, to finance growth, to finance innovation. So more and more businesses are looking at emerging economies as a place to go and do business. The challenge there is around innovating your business model to enable you to actually succeed in those environments. We've seen a lot of big businesses go in, spend quite a lot of money. Some have made money, others haven't. The next wave of businesses coming in have really got to be quite innovative in how they demonstrate what they have to offer and how they create products and processes and solutions that actually fit into the gaps in those markets. Because you take China, pretty every product and service you've thought about is available, but there are still some gaps. So it's finding those niches, it's finding routes to market, and it's finding innovative pricing models that enable you to actually earn a decent revenue stream on what you're doing, because all of the emerging markets are becoming more competitive.
Well, that's definitely very true. And as we look at the future, and as we look at companies struggling to grow right now, we see a lot of companies doing acquisitions and sort of seeing that as a path to growth and potentially to acquiring innovation even. Do you see that as a sound strategy, a strategy that can continue?
It can be, but you've got to be very careful in how you do it. I think over the last 10 years it became very popular to go and make quite expensive acquisitions and literally paying multiples of the revenues of a company, or hundreds of times the revenues in the case of a lot of tech startups, but with no real sense of whether there was true growth in those businesses. And there's a great measure which is called cash return on investment. And what you've seen is some very large businesses who over the last 8 years, if you look at the additional revenues they've made, they've effectively spent over $2 for every dollar of revenue. Compare that with a business like Roper Industries, very focused on identifying innovation which has huge potential for growth. And they look for ideas that could service the companies that are already their clients in spaces that they're not working. And what that means is they can help innovators scale up their idea and turn them into marketplace innovations. So they're really investing in future growth. And as a result, they get, for every dollar they earn in additional revenue, they only spend 5 cents on investment, because they're financing growth rather than going in and buying what's already there. And I think you're going to see more and more of that now. Businesses having to get much smarter in saying, how do we find opportunities that fit what our marketplace needs, and how do we really help them grow, and how do we bring our systems to bear, our skills in marketing, product development, channel delivery, to these people with ideas and a good potential, but not necessarily a key understanding of how to make it happen. And I think you're going to see more and more of that, much more focused, much smarter investing to drive innovation. I think the second thing we're going to see is businesses riding more and more on the collaboration, the open innovation, the radical competition, the X-Prize type competition scaled down, a lot more partnerships between businesses and universities to source ideas around particular opportunities, really trying to cut the cost of innovation as much as anything and accelerate the delivery of ideas into the business so that you can then apply the innovation tools to turn it into a market offering. So I think we're going to see a lot more focus on those things.
And so in your mind, what are some of the key opportunities for companies looking to create a more collaborative innovation model, or get better at partnering with other firms to create innovation?
I think you've got to really recruit people or develop people who want to work with others, who value the ideas of those outside the organisation, or who you can coach to become much more open to ideas from outside. recruiting younger people who don't know the company history and don't know all the reasons why we don't like ideas from outside is important. Recruiting people from different cultures, and I think also, being willing to experiment. People have a huge fear of trying this stuff, but the reality is very little can go wrong. We're working with an airport at the moment on developing their vision for 2020, reinventing their customer processes, coming up with seamless security, contactless security, luggage delivery, to your home, all sorts of interesting ideas. And at the core of that is a real engagement with the customer about their needs, their challenges, and what they would like going forward. There's huge fear from the top of the organisation, even though the ambition is to be the leading airport through the eyes of the customer. There's a huge reluctance to engage with the customer, to actually let young people in the organisation lead the project, engage with customers, and come up with new visions. And what we've really had to work very hard with the senior guys on is to understand that actually nothing can get broken. That if we let these people engage, the customer will like the process. If we let the young people's imaginations run riot, then all you'll see is creativity. And ultimately, you still get to make the decisions as the board about whether you move forward on any of this. But unleashing the creativity is the key here to provide the ideas that become the fuel for innovation. So it's kind of getting comfortable with the idea that you can let this happen, that you can let people have ideas. You're not going to break the company. The airport isn't going to stop running because people have new ideas and people get inspired. And what's interesting now is we're seeing the movement, so that now the CEO is saying, okay, well, actually what we should do is form that team internally and then fly them to see experiences not just in airports, but look at art galleries, look at shopping centres. Let's take inspiration from as many different places as possible to fuel our innovation process. So you can see the mindset shift happen once they give themselves permission to believe that it's okay to try it.
Right, and I think that's one of the keys, is that people have to be willing to take that risk and to accept that innovation involves risk, and then plan around that risk to make sure that you balance it with portfolios and making smart decisions about which things to fund. And as we look at some of those areas around ideas and insights and entrepreneurship, what are some of the gaps that you see, the opportunities maybe in the innovation ecosystem?
What's interesting is a lot of the focus is on finding the really big, sexy ideas. So in the airport context, I talked about invisible security. Everyone likes that. It's big, radical. But the boring ones, like, don't lose my luggage. Tell me how long it's going to take for each step in the process. Those things, everyone's like, they're dull. But those are the things that really influence the customer experience. And those are the things that all your people are in contact with or see and understand. And I think one of the big challenges is actually doing innovation in the things that we think are really boring. The day-to-day processes, the things we see going on every single day that we just don't even kind of think about. I gave the example of Roper. One of the interesting ideas there is that they have industrial businesses that do things like pumps and surface finishing tools and quite heavy-duty, old industrial type processes. They also have a side of the business that does really interesting technology around healthcare and around sensing and things. And what they've been doing is marrying the two. So they're getting the pumps guys to go out and look at customer processes and they say, what are the changes going on inside your customers? Where are the areas where they're not using technology effectively? Where are the opportunities so we can leverage our technology skills to come in and create new tools, new solutions, or go out and look for investee companies who could service those markets, and then we can help them grow with our market knowledge and our customer access. None of that sounds hugely sexy, but actually for the bulk of our world, the bulk of the business community, they're in day-to-day businesses. They're not going to all create the radical breakthroughs all the time, but they're worried somehow that if they're not doing that, they're not innovating. But actually getting grassroots level spotting of issues inside the business, so maybe finding processes that don't work. There's a great one locally in the food processing industry where one of the problems with forklift trucks is that it's all about protecting the pallet, not protecting the cans inside the boxes you're moving. Well, these guys have come up with a very simple solution which puts pads on the forklift truck levers, so when they go in, they cushion the pallet, so that and if they do hit the packages on the pallet, there's a soft impact, and they don't end up damaging cans. This is going to save millions of dollars a year as an innovation. It's come from the front line.
Right.
And I think trapping those ideas, finding ways of turning them into creative solutions that you can then turn into marketplace innovations, is where a lot of the innovation is going to come from in the next few years. Business is trying to optimize, business is trying to remove pain that they have today. Business is trying to simply get better at what they're doing, I think is going to be important. And then there is a whole new set of industries as well that I think do present the opportunity for real innovation. The particular one I'm interested in is the next generation of vehicle transport, whether it's hydrogen fuel cars or electric cars or whatever. What do the set of innovations look like to create the cars that we're willing to buy, so they don't look like boring, ugly little boxes with wheels on, which I think scares some people. So when people see the beautiful Tesla Roadster and they think, wow, an electric car could look like that, they get very excited. And so it's thinking about, well, what are the models that we need to do to bring to bear to, the model we need to create to enable innovation in those spaces to create whole market solutions. Because with something like electric cars, you need a charging technology that works, you need charging points around the country, you need to work out pricing mechanisms, you need to work out, do we just go to the existing dealers to sell them, or do we create our own distribution chain? What kind of business do we want to be in? What's interesting is you go to markets like Iceland, and there are people, because it's a small country with 300,000 people, there are innovators there who are really coming up with radical new solutions for bringing things to market. So literally saying, right, let's sign up businesses to say, we'll put a charging point in front of our building, and we'll commit to converting our lease fleet from petrol-based cars to electric cars when renewal comes up. So you're guaranteeing yourself a pipeline. If you go to the 100 biggest businesses in Iceland, you've captured a lot of the marketplace. Signing up deals with them, then going back to all of the electric car manufacturers and saying, use us as a test bed. Because if we can get a good enough installed fleet here, you can test the entire life cycle of electric cars, charging, running, maintenance. You can see what the costs are truly to run a car. You can see where the maintenance issues emerge. And then you've got a great model to sell into other markets. And that's working very well. That it's innovators and entrepreneurs who are driving this, but what it means is the big players, the big Japanese manufacturers, the big US players like Tesla, are all really focused on the Icelandic market and are all really willing to commit significant resource well beyond what you'd expect, because it's such a powerful test bed for innovation.
Well, I think that's the thing. You have to test and learn and evolve over time for innovation to actually occur and move from invention to innovation. So thank you very much, Rohit Talwar, for your time today.